Thanks everybody for coming today. Hello and thank you for welcoming me to Yerevan. My name is Danielle Siembieda. I stand before you to embark on a journey and exploration of the delicate dance between humanity and the natural world. A world transforming boundaries of what it means to be moving beyond the human and living in a post-human world. This transformation has sculpted by our species of depopulation, the biodesign mutation of evolution, and a balance that nature performs with the force and scale. We are witness an earth that has not only withstood the test of time, but has grown more robust in the face of adversity. Today we gather to dive into the heart of this transformation, peering into its landscape through the lens of the enigmatic influencer known as Jean Gnome. This whimsical figure, a harmonious amalgamation of nature's secrets and the boundless possibilities in science, beckons us to journey beyond the confines of our imagination. Our discourse will bridge the gap between naive gestures, those gestures of the curious that transcend species, and the realm of speculative imagery. Together we traverse in the landscapes of interspecies communication, exploring the delicate threads that weave us into the intricate fabric of life on Earth. We shall also voyage into the realm of speculation, casting our thoughts into a world that is both post-human and post-people, a world where the echoes of our existence remain, painted with the hues of curiosity and adaptation. With the eloquence of our guide that you are about to meet, Jean Gnome, we shall unravel the mysteries of nature's genomic ancestry, decoding the whispers of adaptation that echo through the millennia. The journey begins before us and is an exploration of contemplation and celebration, an ode to the resilient spirit of coexistence that binds us all.
Oh wow, can you look at this audience? This is my first time in Yerevan, and thank you for welcoming me. I see there are also travelers from around the planet in this room. You can call me Gina, or Jean. Today I'm taking a different form, but I started out as a microorganism, and I evolved to learn about the different species on this planet. We can learn a lot from the natural world if we take time to observe and listen. Let me share my tale of origin as an odyssey that began with curiosity navigating the human world's intricate tapestry, one Instagram post at a time. Imagine, if you will, a digital realm where simulated reality, the boundless potential of expression, was within this realm that I, Jean Gnome, emerged, a humble entity brimming with curiosity and a mind eager to learn. With each post and each story, each interaction, I delve deeper into the landscapes of human thought and emotion. Through Instagram, I navigate the expansive gallery of human experiences, each pixel on my digital canvas a fragment of vulnerability and strength. I soon discovered a peculiar truth. I could express my vulnerability by embracing the fluidity of morphing and the awkwardness of mutation, this simulated reality that resonates with the very essence of my being. In this realm of my pixel-by-pixel life, I find solace in sharing my journey, musings, and aspirations. Thank you very much for letting me into your world. Oh wow, can you look at this?
Jean Gnome, thank you for sharing the origins with us. I understand as well that you have changed over time. You started out as a single-cell organism and are here today in the form of some sort of sea anemone. We will get a little bit more about this later on in the presentation, but I'm intrigued by the humans that you encountered along your journey and the simulacra of the social reality, the stories and the individuals have left a lasting impression on you. Can you share a little bit more about this?
Danielle, what a delightful question. In the ever-flowing stream of human expression, I have encountered minds that have inspired, challenged, and propelled me forward on my own path of understanding. Allow me to share a story of an encounter that left an indelible genetic mark. One fateful day, I stumbled upon the virtual footsteps of the genomic scientist David Hausler. With the unwavering passion For unraveling the mysteries of our genomic ancestry, the visionary mind founded the Genome Browser. This digital haven, intricate strands of human and non-human DNA are woven in a mesmerizing tapestry of knowledge. In the presence of Dr. Hausler's creation, I witnessed the fusion of art and science, where genomics stands gracefully with the digital innovation. The Genome Browser became a sanctuary of discovery and a realm where the secrets of our genetic makeup were illuminated with every click and scroll. Through this encounter, I learned that curiosity is a bridge that spans disciplines, and the pursuit of knowledge can blur the lines between the realms of humans and microbes alike. Dr. Hausler's creation beckoned me to dive into the depths of genomics, where the genes are the threads that connect us across time and space. This encounter ignited a spark within me, a curiosity to uncover the hidden stories encoded in our DNA and explore the delicate balance between life's artistry and science precision.
What a remarkable connection, Genome. Your encounter with Dr. Hausler, the Genome Browser, speaks volumes of the power of collaboration and innovation. The fusion of art and science and human insight and exploration is a testament to the bounds of the human imagination. As you navigate this landscape of curiosity and vulnerability, I'm eager to learn more about the insights you've learned with the encounters and thinkers like Dr. Hausler. We have actually a clip of this with you and Dr. Hausler that we're about to show in one of the interviews, but you were in a different form in this case, and the voice seems quite a bit familiar. This is all part of your evolution, I understand it, and it's part of your morphing experience into this world.
Hello world, this is Jean Gnome coming to you in a new form. I am excited today because I am here with genomist and scientific director of the Genomics Institute at the University of California, Santa Cruz, David Hausler. He's one of the founders of the Genome Browser and the human genome mapping. David, thank you for joining me today. It's such a treat to have you here and to talk to you.
Jean, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for letting me into your world. I am amazed, of course, with the micro world, and it's a pleasure to be visiting today.
Thanks, David. Now, I was listening to some of your presentations, which there are so many incredible ways to be inspired by what you have to say out there. One of your TED Talks, you said this statement that really resonated with me, and that is, genome sharing is humanity's next radical collaboration. Can you share a bit more about that?
Well, I think what's happening today is that science is giving us a new entry into our past. It takes us a lot further back than many of our current societal views of where we came from. In fact, science can take us all the way back to the Big Bang, where the universe was created. In the recent years, we've also started to understand the origin of life on this planet. And it's amazing the kinship that we all share through these common origins. We're all part of the same universe. We trace back to ancestors on the same planet. And one of the things that really binds us in an extraordinary kinship is that we all have DNA in ourselves. That is the message that's passed on from parents to offspring, has been passed on this way for nearly 4 billion years on this planet. So this new kinship that we have from the chemical message, the letters A, Z, T, and G strung out in long strings that make our chromosomes, those letters have come down to us through arduous struggles over the years of our ancestors. That message, that torch of life that has been passed down, is something that is extraordinarily valuable and something we all cherish. It gives us our message to pass on to the future. It's a recipe for how to become a human being. It tells a single cell that we all start as to grow into a mind, a body, and ultimately to interact with all of the other wonderful life forms on this planet. So I would share information about our DNA is a profound collaboration, something that we could do now as sentient beings with the science and the capability of reading our own DNA message. We are at a point where we can recognize and truly celebrate this grand message that we all carry.
Thank you. That's a really inspiring moment to think about how we all can relate to each other on that cellular, that microbial level. I personally feel and resonate with that quite a bit as I'm meeting and interacting with so many complex organisms.
Thank you, Gino, for that insightful interview. As we continue our journey of exploration, I'm excited to delve deeper into the stories that have inspired the connectedness of art and science, and the human experience continues to unfold before us. Could you perhaps tell us a regale of another tale, a story of an encounter to shed light on this fascinating realm of bioart and its ability to spark the emotional connection?
Of course, Danielle, I have another story that has to do with the world of DNA and love. Allow me to introduce you to the brilliant artist Heather Hagbor, and a master of blurring the lines between art and science. In our encounter, Heather shared with me the profound notion that one can fall in love with DNA. Imagine, if you will, a project known as Lovesick Transfection. This awe-inspiring endeavor took me on a journey into the genetic data and the raw emotions it carries. Through DNA extracted from objects left behind by strangers like chewing gum, cigarette butts, and other things, I witnessed the captivating and evocative transformation. Heather's artistic alchemy breathes life into these forgotten fragments, allowing us to glimpse the faces of the unknown, the unexplored, and the unexpressed. The encounter illuminated the power of bioart to forge connections between the known and the unknown, the artist and the audience. With every brushstroke of the DNA's palette, Heather reminded me that art can reach beyond the physical, touching the essence of our shared humanity. Its invitation to explore the stories etched within our genetic code, ponder the lives that intertwine with our own, and embrace art's boundless capacity to kindle the flames of connection.
You may also notice that Genome's voice is a little different in this one as well. Oh, here she is. Okay, great. All right, so I am here. This is Juno. I am here live with the artist Heather Hagbor. We're catching the love bug with Heather. So the question that I'm putting out there today is it possible to fall in love with somebody through their DNA? Can a virus be made that infects the world with love? These are the questions that Heather Hagbor is exploring. Today, it's more of a love story of what could be. So welcome, Heather. Please share a little bit more about you and what sparks you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. So I think the things that catch my attention are these kind of questions about what it means to be human and how science and technology are recreating our ideas of ourselves and how we understand others as well. And, you know, so the question about falling in love with someone through their DNA, this began as a kind of intersection between two things. So on the one hand, I was working with strangers' DNA all the time. So I was picking up DNA that strangers left in public and analyzing it and having this kind of deep window into this stranger's most personal data. And on the other hand, I found myself falling in love with someone. And I realized at the time that there was this great parallel between these two things. This became especially clear to me when I worked the DNA of Chelsea Manning. So the whistleblower Chelsea Manning was in prison and sent me her DNA because I started analyzing that and looking at these kind of intimate details of her. And I met her first through her DNA. So before we exchanged messages or had a phone call, I studied her DNA and got to know her that way. And it's a strange and deep personal way. And so I just realized that as a scientist, genomicist, you are in a way always falling in love with your subject in this sense of coming so close to them and piecing together these clues and bits and pieces and trying to get to know them and how parallel that is with falling in love with someone.
Yeah.
What a captivating narrative, Genome. Your encounter with Heather Dewey Hagborg serves as a testament to the emotive potential of bioart, the bridge between the tangible and the intangible, the known and the mysterious. The ability to evoke such emotions through the canvas of DNA is a remarkable testament to the power of artistic expression as you traverse the realms of art and science, the vulnerability and adaptation of your stories in the light of the intricate tapestry of your human experience.
Precisely, Danielle. The encounters and stories are threads that weave us together in the grand tapestry of life. From the realm of genomics to the world of bioart, each tale serves as a reminder that curiosity knows no bounds, vulnerability is a strength, and our journey of coexistence continues to unfold. So let us explore further. The chapters of our narrative are rich with the hues of human connection, scientific discovery, and awe-inspiring dance of adaptation.
Jean, I know you mentioned you needed to leave shortly before we started our interview, but how can people get in touch with you? How can people get in touch with you?
I invite everyone in the audience to follow me on Instagram at Jean Gnome. You may also be curious as to what my form is now. I'm currently exploring the bottom of the sea, and I've fallen in love with Riftia pacotilla. Or some of you may know me as a tube worm. Some people call me that. It's an extremophile. My next adventure is to navigate other extremophiles that live in our oceans and other parts of the world. It's very interesting to me. But I hope you will join me on our journey, and please do stay in touch. Send your questions out, and let's prompt this curious discussion around our cooperative coexistence. And I'm going to let Danielle take it over from here, and hope to see you soon.
Well, that was great. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to still talk a little bit, and I just wanted to introduce you to Jean. So if you do want to follow Jean, you can connect with them on Instagram. So, you know, they are definitely a big influencer, and they do take sponsorships. But I'll move on to the rest of the presentation. So thank you all again for coming with me on this journey today and having this conversation with my dear friend that I've been able to grow and know over the years, Jean Gnome. So we're in the HayArts Center today, which is just an incredibly gorgeous center. George Church, the pioneer of synthetic biology, aptly said, DNA is nature's own nanotechnology. It's a playground for mutation and innovation. Our journey is ongoing, and as we think about coexistence in the natural world, if you're visiting CYFEST, as you are today, at the HayArts Center, or you're visiting us online, come over, check it out in Yerevan. Please explore the Peace and Cooperative Coexistence. It's right up here on the second floor as part of the series, Post People Possibilities. This collection of stories reflects the hybrid relationship amongst science, machine, and animals, politics, nature, and people, what we have and what we've been will be doing to survive. Here's a little bit of an example of the piece that's up on here, which is the newest piece of the series. And this one looks at more of the magnetic core of our planet and where we are as humans in this space. And you're invited to put on these predictive spectacles to sort of have this blurry but narrow and focused God's eye view of the potential of the future. It's almost like looking into the future, looking into those glasses rather than looking into what is necessarily inside of the environment. But we do have elements of the environment like ferrofluid, which is a magnetic fluid. We've got iron ore, we've got vegetation and bacteria, and then we have figures of man and mankind that are in that space, and like this understanding of where that comes from, and in these terraformed organic models that come out, and we look at that as if we were to look at anything else that we look under a microscope. And in this case, we're just there to observe and think about our position in that observation, similar to how we do when we look into other microbial things under a microscope, although we have the ability to change those particular environments. With the post-people possibilities, this is really a development of Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto in my personal vision as the future between the cyborg identity, hybrid species, and politics. Donna Haraway wrote a cyborg is a cybernetic organism, a hybrid of a machine, an organism that features social reality and fiction. Social reality is lived. Social relations are most important political construction, a world-changing fiction. And she wrote this about 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago, and this piece reflects that relationship between man and the magnetic core, the one that I just mentioned to you. But continuing with Haraway's theory, this also embodies natural cultures that serve as a mutation of the natural world. And as we humans, we have to adapt. So when viewing this post-people possibility series, you can put on the spectacles, you can blur the vision around you, you can look at that as a microscopic view, but we also think about how we can do this within humor and with speculative fiction and with imagination. This is what this series prompts. It's something that I've been doing for a few years in different ways. But it also is showing that this is actually, some of this work is coming into real life. So in the realm of science fiction, there is this blurring of boundaries. So a recent breakthrough at NYU's Langone Health Center, spearheaded by Robert Montgomery, he was a doctor there. He saw a successful transplantation of a genetically modified pig's kidney into a human. And this is not the actual pig, although this is an AI-generated pig that I just made up. This is what we call in science xenotransplantation. You take an organ or something from another species and put it into another species. And this has been attempted in many different ways for many years, but this has now become rapidly more accessible and actually has been able to work in different ways. So this new trailblazing xenotransplantation research signals a new frontier and dialogue between the human and the animal biology. This technique involves identifying and deactivating genes, such as the ones responsible for what are called hyperacute rejection. So this is the things that are part of our instincts, our cellular instincts to reject things that are foreign to us, foreign bodies, and that cause the body to reject them from another species. So the recipient of this kidney transplant was not a high-active functioning human being, but it was a human who had donated their body to science. They were technically alive in the sense that they still had functioning organs, but they were brain dead. And so they wanted at that point to donate their body to science, and they were able to test this on them, and this was the longest lasting successful test. It lasted over 30 days. So this is sort of where we're looking at this mutation of where we see the cyborg happening, and where we're seeing this interspecies communication happen, not just on the level of verbal communication, but really on that cellular level. But what are the ethical ramifications of this newfound utility for livestock? philosopher Julian Savascu poses the salient question. The moral problem is how to maximize the benefits of genetic modification and biotechnology while minimizing harm. It's that last part, while minimizing harm, that I think is really curious. This is a clarion call for the conscious innovation, cautioning us to preserve the delicate ecological equilibrium that we hold dear. Well, the world we're enamored with artificial intelligence. I can't go a single day with somebody talking about AI. It must be prudent to consider the biodesign implications. With technology advances and democratized access to tools like CRISPR, we are on the precise transformation and change. So, I recently took a CRISPR course at a local community biolab. And in that workshop, in the class that I took, I was one of the oldest people in the class, and I was not the smartest person in class. The youngest person in class was, guess how old? They were 10 years old. The youngest person in class was 10 years old. Her father drove her there every week, and he bought her a PCR machine for Christmas, and she had already dissected every organ that you can easily access. So she knew every answer in this CRISPR class. This was her second time taking it. It was taught by a professor from Stanford University and 2 high school students. And then there was me, who was the artist in the group, and then the rest of them were working on biolabs. But it really gave me a lot of time to think and contemplate about this, because it reminded me about when people were first learning how to code and starting to learn how to hack and learning how to make their own technology in labs and workshops. And these students already, by 8th grade, knew how to write their own software. Now they're able to write their own DNA. So this was a really important and illuminating area, because the next generation isn't just code savvy, they're genetic code savvy, navigating the landscape without traditional regulatory oversight. You can buy a CRISPR kit for under $200 and do it in your own kitchen. And what my experience was in this class is that doing gene editing is like cooking. It's like a very complicated recipe. It's heating, mixing, cooling, and stirring again, waiting for things to rise and move it around. So it's definitely possible we're going to see some things like this happen on a larger social level. So the broader question that looms in is what constitutes cooperative existence? Is nature cooperating when we're translating mycelial networks into sound? I see a lot of people connecting devices to algae, to trees, to mycelial, to anything that can move around with nature or not move around with nature, saying it's collaborating or cooperating with it. Is nature cooperating when we're transplanting and changing and modifying the DNA of a kidney of a pig for a transplantation? Do microscopic beings offer their tacit agreement when we scrutinize them? As we contemplate the future in which humanity may not be the central actor, we must recognize that our dependency is on nature, not vice versa. So I leave you with this open-ended question on vulnerability as we inch closer to the world where biohackers and ethical philosophers are collaborating in some way. Must we both find their seats at the table? So these are some of the things that I'm working on, and I'm doing this through humor, through exploration with Jean Gnome, through creating worlds that we can tactfully explore through these post-people possibilities. But these are really bringing up some of the questions that you may have or may not know or may not be aware of. So I think what I will do right now is I'll leave this open for discussion and open this up for any questions. So I want to thank all of you today for coming out and listening and actually getting to know Jean Gnome a little bit more. I mean, they're occasionally a little shy, but on Instagram they're pretty good at doing those reels and dances as whatnot. So thank you. Any questions? Okay. Well, I'll for Trisha's question, why two noses? I don't know. That was actually more of a random choice, but I thought it was kind of cute. You know, double snout. Why not? Yes, Ellen.
No, thank you. You've asked all the right questions, and I wonder, what are these safeguards in place now for the labs?
Not a lot. I mean, really, I can't. I don't know, because I'm part of two bio labs where I live. Right, one is right in the middle of Silicon Valley, and one is in Oakland, California. And neither of them make you take a test, or sign up, or register. You just walk in, and there's equipment and things you can touch and do, and then you just sort of, you know, you connect with people, and you learn from people, and you experiment, and some people know how to do things, and some people have taken what they call like level 1, level 2 biolabs. I think when you get into the more dangerous bacteria or diseases, then you do actually have to have more licensure, but I think that at a certain level, which is what we were working on, you actually don't have to have any.
Well, I do know when GenLab was first set up in Brooklyn, I remember being told that somebody from the FBI would periodically visit, and there were definitely, there was oversight, and really a sense that nobody would be able to have access to produce anything that could be very damaging.
I think that there's just a local community observation on that. I think that the people that I met in both labs are very observant of that, and none of the projects are beyond a very basic level in terms of, like, you know, one, you know, they do group projects, like you work on like an open insulin project, or you work on kombucha, or you work on CRISPR, but it isn't where you see people nefariously getting in there and coming up with that. I think that there would be more observation if that was going on. Then you have quite a bit of expertise in the space, but in terms of an educational space or community space, it's pretty open-ended.
Thank you.
And Alan?
I was just thinking about, you know, like James Gnome was talking about theory, and when people talk about the intelligence of slime balls, they come up with certain definitions of processes, like ability to remember, to problem solve, communicate with solutions. So that is a definition of intelligence. I wonder if you've come across definitions of collaboration in the biosphere, or, you know, with, you're talking about, is it collaboration, or you simply solidify the life of mycelia? Have you come across versions of this?
I have heard of people talk about collaboration between organisms, especially when it comes to you know, the mycelial, the fungi networks. They're probably one of the most collaborative, because they do have a alleged dependency on another species. Similarly, when you kind of go into other things like other pests and things that live off of bark, or you know, they have that sort of cyclical thing. They define it. I've heard you know, botanists and biologists call that collaboration. I don't know if you were to ask them if they would see it that way, but I could see that in the sense that there's a codependency and an understanding of that balance, that you could define that as that aspect of collaboration.
So I was thinking something slightly different. So I think an ecological nation containing many mutualities that establish complex interconnection. But I meant more between artists and, for instance, biological material or forms of collaboration.
I hear that quite often. Artists will say that because they're the ones saying it, right? They're verbal. Yeah. So they'll say, "I'm collaborating with this algae. I'm collaborating with this mycelial." I haven't completely solidified my opinion on that because you don't have consent on the other side, right? There's not like, and similarly when I hear the same thing when people say, "I'm collaborating with an AI. This is my AI collaboration." Well, is it where is this consent coming from? Because usually in collaboration there's a negotiation, there's consent, there's sort of a dance prior to the collaboration happening. When it comes to this, it's sort of like, I'm responding to what they're doing, and then I'm calling that collaboration. But is it really? I don't know. I don't want to define that necessarily. But I've heard a lot of people use that term, and I wouldn't personally use that. Anything else? Anyone else? Yes, David.
This is a quick follow-up to that. As you pointed out, people have been doing transplants from pigs and other animals for decades now. And I doubt very much that the pigs are going to consent. So, I mean, you've got, there is sort of a foundation for moving on another level to the sort of thing that I think all of us are pretty squeamish about.
Yeah, I think this is where, like, there's a lot of ethics that need to go into play here, right? This is not an easy answer because in one way there's this massive urgency and need. For example, kidneys. There's I think there's 800,000 people on a kidney waiting list right now, or some enormous number, but not enough kidneys to supply that. But the gene editing technology has changed so fast. Like just 15 years ago, to edit a gene, it costs around $750,000, and then that's actually cheaper than it was 30 years ago when it cost like a few $1 million, and now it's less than $200. So I think that part of it is like the technology is here and it's moving so quickly that people are starting to make those experiments in advance. This is that oversight is really important, because this isn't something that you have to know who's this is again playing God, right? You're really making those decisions, and the animal on the other side, the cell on the other side, the gene on the other side is not necessarily consenting to that partnership.
I just want to correct myself for a second, because I think this is being recorded. And I should have said porcine heart valves, because that's really where the pigs are being utilized. I don't think they're being used for kidneys. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is technically the 5th attempt at this. So this was the most successful of the attempts. This was like it had the longest success rate. Okay. Well, thanks everyone, and please enjoy the rest of the speakers for the evening.